Let's give you some takeaways from the Spurs win. Yes, win over the Pistons. DeJounte Murray Spurs reunion. And we're going to go over some of your YouTube Locked On Spurs fan comments.
You are Locked On Spurs, your daily San Antonio Spurs podcast. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Hey, this is Hot Rod.
And I'm RC from the Cybertronic Spring.
And you're listening to Locked On Spurs with Jeff Garcia.
Welcome back to Locked On Spurs and the Locked On NBA Network. I'm your host, Jeff Garcia, Spurs writer for Ken's 5 San Antonio. Glad to have you all back. And yeah, the Spurs won. Yeah, we're going to get into that. We're going to give you some takeaways from yesterday's win versus the Pistons. We're going to be talking about a possible a rumored DeJounte Murray Spurs reunion. And go over some of your comments that you left on the Locked On Spurs YouTube fan page. Hey, this episode is brought to you by PrizePicks, the easiest and most exciting way to play daily fantasy sports. Go to PrizePicks.com/LockedOnNBA and use the code, all lowercase, LockedOnNBA for a first deposit match up to $100. You guys are the everydayers, and thank you for making Locked On Spurs your first stop for all things silver and black. So, about last night. Yeah, Spurs got a W. Yes, they avoided catastrophe. Spurs fans would have been in shambles if they had lost to the Pistons on the road, but the Spurs got the W. Way to go, San Antonio, beating Detroit 130-108. Cruise to victory. Got a little close in the second quarter, but after that, the Spurs took over. And easy win. Spurs get their 6th win on the season. So way to go. So what are some takeaways? What went right for the Spurs last night in Detroit? Well, number one, what went right is minimal turnovers. They valued the ball. This is something that we talked about pregame. One of the keys to a win. The Spurs had just 5 turnovers for the entire game. Now, this is the 4th game in a row where the Spurs have recorded fewer turnovers than their opposition. So that just goes to the fact that this team maybe perhaps getting a little more chemistry going, a little more familiarity going, finding the right passes. Also helps you got Trey Jones as a starting point guard. So way to go, Spurs. Big key to victory. One of the best takeaways I would like to say here is kept the minimal turnovers. I mean, just 5. That's pretty good. Second takeaway, Victor Wembanyama. Wemby did it again. I mean, what can't this kid, 20-year-old kid, do on that court? He recorded his first ever NBA triple-double, leading the Spurs with 16 points, 12 rebounds, and 10 assists. Yeah, facilitating Wemby. Look at that. You know, he didn't. I thought he was going to get it with blocks. I thought he was going to never get a triple-double, come with the block shots, but he came with assists. So that just goes more of a testament to his skill set, his abilities, what he can do on that court, leading the way for the Spurs. And he did that all in just 21 minutes. A triple-double in the NBA in 21 minutes, basically the minutes restriction. So takeaway number 2 is Wemby. The kid is special. Just his rookie season. We talked about this recently in Locked On Spurs. Has he turned the corner? I think he has in his rookie season. Matter of fact, after the game, Doug McDermott said that, you know, he thinks and he sees that the game is slowing down for Wemby already in his rookie season. So takeaway number 2 is Wemby does it again. And then finally, I think this is a big thing too, is contributions from the bench. Third takeaway, Spurs with 70 bench points. 70. I mean, just the guys came to contribute. You had Malachi Brown with 7. You had C.D. Osman with 11. You had Doug McDermott with 14. You had Keldon Johnson with 17. You had more than just so many players in double figures. So, but the bench really came and studied that first unit when they were out. That's good to know. I mean, it helps with Keldon Johnson coming off the bench now, boost that second unit. That's a great sign moving forward. I get it. It was the Pistons that were without Isaiah Stewart, without Cade Cunningham. I get that. And Popovich said that after the game that, hey, look, Detroit was depleted. But you got to take your wins where you can. And Spurs had to take advantage of it. And if we just add kind of a bonus takeaway, is the Spurs took care of business. They played 48 minutes. They took care of a team that they should have taken care of, and they did it. They went to Detroit and just pretty much just beat them down. Not often you get to say that the Spurs beat down a team this season. They actually won again the third period, outscoring Detroit 32-26. Coming up next, Rudy Campos from Sweep the League. He's going to join me. We're going to be discussing that DeJounte Murray Spurs reunion rumor. Yeah, that's happening right now. Spurs fans are talking about it, and then get into some of your comments that you left on the Locked On Spurs YouTube fan page. Up next on Locked On Spurs. Hey, I want to talk about PrizePicks. PrizePicks is the largest daily fantasy sports platform in North America. They are the easiest, fastest, most exciting way to play daily fantasy sports, and it's just you against the numbers. You don't have to worry about the pros, the sharks. It's just you and the numbers. That's it. You pick more than or less than on 2 to 6 player stat projections, and hopefully you'll start watching all those winnings come in. Look, PrizePicks is just so much fun. They got quick withdrawals, easy gameplay, a big selection of players and stat types, and that's what makes PrizePicks the #1 daily fantasy sports app. And they even offer Apple Pay for quick, easy deposits into your account this entire basketball season. They got it all. Look, it's so easy to use, so much fun. You could turn $10 into $250 in just a few easy taps. That's why you got to get the PrizePicks app right now. So get it. What are you waiting for? I have it. You should get it too. Go to prizepicks.com/LockedOnNBA. Use code LockedOnNBA for a first deposit match up to $100. Look, just get it. Just get it. Go to that website, prizepicks.com/LockedOnNBA. The code is LockedOnNBA. First deposit match up to $100. Go there right now. Download it. And PrizePicks, it's daily fantasy sports made easy.
Hey guys, this is Jason David Frank, the Green Ranger, and you are listening to a Locked On Spurs with Jeff Garcia. It's morphin' time.
And we are back right here on Locked On Spurs, joined now by Rudy Campos of Sweep the League. Follow him on X at Sweep the League. And also let him know if it's true that he actually took down Superman and Batman a la Deathstroke. I've heard that happened, right?
I actually have receipts and I have physical evidence.
He does. I've seen it.
An artist actually drew the what he saw in person, so I've got it.
Again, make sure to follow him on X at Sweep the League. He's going to brag about his show later on this show, and he's going to help us remember a good old memory at the Hemisphere Arena. He's going to validate it for us. A little discussion of this in yesterday's Locked On Spurs, whether there were TV monitors hanging in the Hemisphere. We're going to ask, well, Mr. Sweep the League himself, Rudy, if it's true or not. So, Rudy, first of all, welcome back. Glad to have you back, as always, stepping in for us here at Locked On Spurs. But this has been a buzz lately among the Spurs fan base, is a reported potential reunion with the Spurs and DeJounte Murray. What? According to the Athletic Shams Charania, the Spurs have expressed interest in reacquiring the former Spurs guard. Again, this is just a rumor. This is a report. It's been kind of quiet since. But where do you stand on this, Rudy? Are you going to buy or sell this report? And also, should the Spurs even do it?
So I'm going to date myself here, not outdate, date myself here. I'm going to put it on layaway is what I'm going to do.
Okay.
I'm going to put it on a layaway plan, but not where, it's like I've got 4 or 5 months to pay it off. And that's kind of what I'm seeing here. I think it's kind of cool to see, DeJounte Murray and the Spurs kind of being, I guess, buddy now and everything. Of course, he had some negative things to say when he left San Antonio, but all is forgiven unless your name is Kawhi Leonard. I think that the way it looks, Jeff, it's like it's a good thing, but it's a bad thing. I see fan standpoint where it's great. You get DeJounte. He's averaging 20 points a game, 5 assists a game. He's the point guard that the Spurs are missing. But is he the answer to turn this whole ship around? It doesn't move the needle as much as Spurs fans feel that it does. It's going to help, obviously, but not only are you looking at, okay, you've got the current team as constructed. You want to kind of work with that, see what you've got. But you're also going to have to give up pieces of that current roster in order to bring him back. So more than likely, I think it's kind of smokescreen still, because I think if anything, you're going to have a team like the Lakers wanting him a lot more.
Yeah.
So if I'm DeJounte, I'm thinking I have a better chance of winning in LA than I do in San Antonio. So for me, it's kind of smokescreen. But again, where there's smoke, there is fire. So there could be a lot of it behind it here.
Yeah, I'm gonna, maybe this is just I guess as Ben Affleck said in the Superman versus Batman, maybe this is just the Gotham in me. Maybe this is just the past reports that never pan out in me. But I'm not buying it. I don't think it'll happen ultimately. First of all, I think the Spurs. I mean, yes, they do have the assets and the cash, but I think his pay grade, his pay raise is coming up soon. It's like over triple figures. Yeah. So the Spurs can't afford it, but do they really want to mortgage a nice little chunk of that pad they have right now in DeJounte? I think they would, but I don't think they're going to. So also, they're obviously not in a rush to win at all. If that's true, then there would have been no Sohan experiment and PG. Trey Jones would have been starting, and Pop would have called every timeout in the world until they got it in their head to throw it to Wemby to start the season. Yeah. So it doesn't seem like they're in a rush to win right now. Another thing though is for me is I know people say that Trey Jones isn't it. He's good, but he's not it. But I still don't think he's been given a fair shot at running the team. As a starting point guard for an extended period, and maybe an entire season. I would love to see him. Basically, the Spurs just use what they got right now on the roster. As a matter of fact, you and I talked to a Spurs fan before we even hit record, and they told us, just stick with what you got right now. It just makes all the sense right now in this period of the Spurs timeline. So, although it would fix an immediate need, he is an all-star. He's familiar with Pop and his system. He has familiarity with the players on the roster. Him and Wemby, I think it would be a nice little 1-2. Imagine him, Wemby, and Vassell as being a nice little 3 combo there. It'd be really good. But I see the Spurs simply just either trading for a veteran point guard, a la Mike Conley, in that kind of vein. Who's the other kid? Holiday, like a Drew Holiday, like in that ilk, or just seeing what the draft provides this offseason. Your thoughts?
So the draft has a pretty good amount of point guards in it. Again, nobody that's going to be in. I get the love for Topic as well. I do understand that, but again,
defense is horrific though.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. There's still a lot of red flags on a lot of these players coming in. I've really felt the 2025 draft is going to be where you're going to see these superstar players coming out. So again, it's kind of like you're trading for DeJounte now, but how much does that needle move? For me, if you're sitting at 5 wins on the season, I mean, is it going to move to where you get 15 wins? Probably not. You're probably looking at another maybe 7, like maybe total 7, 8, 9, where you hit the win column there. So it's a move if you make your – that's a good question. If you make that move, are you desperate? Like, are you desperate? It's a desperation move.
But why make the move now? I mean, the season is toast already. It's done.
Exactly.
It's done.
And you're going to have to
play for right now.
You're going to have to give up assets that you've actually acquired that are going to benefit you in the season. I'm thinking the 25-26 season is when you see this whole ship turn around and start going that direction. It's going to take a few years of drafts. It's going to take a few years for these young guys to actually come in and about.
Kind of like what the Magic did in their rebuild, right?
Orlando, Oklahoma, OKC. Even you can throw in Indiana, Sacramento, those teams like that. It takes a little while. So you got to bring in the right veterans. And I think what you want to do is probably get some of these veterans who are maybe on an expiring contract or have a 2-year deal that are really low when it comes to their contract, and just kind of give them the playing time that they want towards the twilight of their career. DeJounte Murray would, definitely make everybody excited, but it's that on the court. I'm glad he's here, but what are we going to get on the court? I don't think it's that much more.
Yeah. If for some reason, let's just say down the road ahead of the trade deadline, the Spurs pull the trigger and he's a Spur back as silver and black, I'm not gonna be mad at it. I'm not gonna be angry. I'm not gonna be upset. Okay, fine. You address the need. You do bring in technically a veteran all-star point guard. And I like that he'll shore up the defense, especially on the perimeter. I mean, how many times this season have we seen teams just go off from the 3 line on this team? Spurs, they won't run the players off the 3 line. DeJounte will do that. So he'll show up the perimeter defense. You'll have interior defense with Wemby. So it makes sense. Again, I'm not going to be angry at it, but in the grand scheme of things, should the Spurs mortgage some of their assets? Again, I'm on the fence with this. It's like the more I talk it out, I'm like, it's fine. I mean, it's okay, great. Perfect. You solved your point guard spot situation, Spurs. Yay, Spurs. And if you don't, you pass on him, and let's just say he does go to LA. Okay, fine, great. You got what you got. You got still Trey Jones. Give him a legit shot. You got the draft, and you got the veteran. Well, not veteran, but just the waiver wire, perhaps, or maybe a deal in the offseason, or maybe you deal for a veteran, like a real late veteran, like in year 8, 9, or 10, to come in and to steady the ship. So again, I'm right there, but ultimately, I just don't think it'll happen. It could be leverage move right now by the Hawks, something like that.
Okay, so I guess let's put it in a scenario here for DeJounte. If you gave up either a Keldon or a Sohan and a first-round pick, is that too much for DeJounte?
It feels like it's too much, right?
Yes, it does. Now, if you say just a first-round pick, is DeJounte worth a first-round pick? That's a question, because the Spurs have a good amount. Atlanta thought he was, but at the same time, Atlanta was getting, a guy coming off of an All-Star appearance, the leader of the team, a piece that definitely was supposed to fit with Trae Young and John Collins is what they were thinking at the time, but it just didn't work out. So now that you say, okay, DeJounte's on the trading block, is he worth a first-round pick? I mean, to me, I'm kind of stingy with these first-round picks that I have coming up. I don't want to now, if you say give us a 2026 first, I would probably pull that trigger right away.
Okay, yeah,
but not anytime soon on a first.
Not too soon, yeah. Especially not this season's draft, but the next season draft.
This or next season, no. 24 and 25, no. Definitely.
Especially next season with let's just say the Spurs bottom out again and Cooper Flag is on their radar. You want to go for that.
And you have the Hawks. You have the Hawks unprotected lottery pick in 2025. I mean, screw the lottery. You have the Hawks unprotected first round pick in 2025. So again, why would you want to risk that? Making you're not going to make them better, but chances are they're going to want that pick back. So I would say just don't do it if it's for a first. If it is 2026 and beyond, that would be the only way I'd go.
Yeah. Again, ultimately, I just think. Ultimately, that's not just in overall, it's just not going to happen. Yeah. But I think Spurs fans will be a little bit more forgiving with him for his comments afterwards than maybe a Kawhi Leonard. So, I mean, he got some good love, when he can come back to San Antonio. It's not 100% applause. You'll hear a little bit of boos kind of popping out when he's introduced.
We got a buddy, Eric, man, and he's a big Kawhi guy. And I've got to ask you, why is there so much hate for Kawhi if he really never came out and talked bad about San Antonio? Kind of like, DeJounte made comments here and there. Kawhi never really bashed on San Antonio at all.
No, I think it was the shock of it because, the past megastars for the Spurs, from Timmy to Robinson, took pay cuts. Oh, I'm giving this up for the best of the team. And so I think it was just the first time in this generation's fan base where they reacted that way. They're seeing, what? You megastar don't want to stay in San Antonio? You are the heir to the Tim Duncan throne. The torch is being passed to you to take this team to the next level, continue winning titles. So I think Spurs fans saw that. They saw the fact that there goes your one player that can really legit give you a shot at the NBA crown, and gone. And then maybe it's just the fact he didn't say anything. Maybe it's just that, the silent treatment. Well, what do you want to talk to us? And it's like a you break up with your boyfriend or girlfriend. You're like, what? We're not talking anymore? Fine, be that way. Fine. That's what it feels like.
And I think what too is like you can't really expect, and it's sad to say, in this day and age of sports, you can't expect loyalty. It's very very, very rare to see a player like Tim Duncan or David. The only one you can think of is maybe Giannis.
Giannis is about the one. We'll see what happens with Luka, but Luka so far, I think maybe the next one would probably be Joker. I think I can see him.
Yeah, Joker
staying,
easily.
Yeah. With
Luka's
Denver.
another one. Luka's definitely another one that I think could probably stay in Dallas unless they have to really just get a ransom for him. But
Yeah.
you can't blame a player these days for wanting to leave half the time anymore.
Yeah, well, we'll see what happens with this DeJounte Murray Spurs reunion question mark rumor. We'll see what happens. Again, if you really look at what the report says, it's not anything concrete. You know, look, first of all, I would hope the Spurs will be looking at point guards.
Yeah.
You know, I'm glad that they are. If this report is true, I'm glad they're looking at point guards to bring in because that is a big need. But ultimately, I just think, you know, also you throw in the clutch factor. You know, he and LeBron, DeJounte are very, very close, you know, really good friends. So I could see a reunion happening for those two guys in Los Angeles than a reunion in San Antonio first above anything. But when we get back, we're going to dive into some Locked On Spurs YouTube comments. We've got a couple on deck. We're going to get a reaction from Rudy. He's going to help me answer some of the fans' thoughts and points and questions. And then we're going to solve the Hemisphere mystery. Were there mini monitor TVs at the Hemisphere? That's coming up next on Locked On Spurs.
This is Zach Aguilar, the voice of Tanjiro Kamado, and you're listening to Locked On Spurs with Jeff Garcia.
Before we continue our chat, I want to talk to you about Jase Medical. Look, I know we come to sports to escape from some of the crazy realities of life, but can we just talk for a minute about preparing for real life? According to the FDA, pharmacies are running out of antibiotics like amoxicillin right in the worst flu season in over a decade. That is very scary. I can't imagine a more helpless feeling than if, you know, my nephew or my parents or it's just somebody that's close to me got sick while a supply chain issue kept them from life-saving medication they needed. Thankfully, they'll be okay because of Jase Medical. The Jase case is a pack of 5 different antibiotics to treat a long list of bacterial illnesses, including UTIs, respiratory infections, sinusitis, skin infections, among others. This stuff could happen to any of us. So what you want to do is visit jasemedical.com and complete your physician encounter. It'll be reviewed by a board-certified physician, and your medications will be dispensed by a licensed pharmacy at a fraction of the regular cost. It's never been more important to prepare than today. So you want to go to jasemedical.com, use offer code LOCKEDON to get $20 off your order.
This is Emily Swallow, and you are listening to Locked On Spurs with Jeff Garcia.
And we are back right here on Locked On Spurs with our guest, Rudy Campos, making his weekly stop right here on Locked On Spurs. I had to, because he was going to go Deathstroke on me. I mean, seriously, I just saw an orange and black mask kind of peek over my shoulder, and he breathed in my face. He's going like, when am I scheduled this week? And then I heard the clanging of a blade come out. I was like, okay, Rudy, I'm sorry. You're gonna be on for Thursday. How's that? So he is back, everybody, and we're talking all things Spurs. Now we're gonna be discussing some of the comments you left on the Locked On Spurs YouTube page, and they're pretty good. Shocker, Rudy. A lot of them are about Wemby, so I had to sift through them because we got to spread this out.
Who's that guy?
But yeah, exactly. Yeah, who's that guy? But speaking of the last segment, DeJounte Murray, there's been a strong reaction on the Locked On Spurs YouTube page about DeJounte's possible rumored, interest, possible reunion, blah, 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 all that good stuff. So the first comment is from Tony Hill. He says, no, he had his chance and it didn't work. I would rather go and get a younger player who fits into Wemby's timeline. The amount of draft capital and players on great contracts, can we get that player? So, yeah, looks like this person, Tony Hill, thank you, by the way, Tony, for leaving that comment, but he's not done yet. He says, sorry, folks, in the comment section, but don't get your emotions in this. We don't and should not want to even consider him. That's a strong take. I'll let you react first. You're the guest. So what do you think about that? That's a very, hell no for DeJounte back.
I think that's probably going to be the majority of the people's feelings out there. Is the same thing with Tony. And, I don't think it's as strong as Tony's comment was, but I agree with them, per se I do, because it's going to be a huge contract to take on. And I don't agree with he had his chance here. He had his chance here. You know what? He was able to move on. He can come back and, let bygones be bygones. It doesn't matter to me. So, but I do agree with Tony on the fact that you don't probably make this deal. There's a lot of more weight on the side of the balance when it comes to not making this deal than actually making it. You're giving up draft capital, probably. You're giving up a player or two. You are giving up cap space. That's a lot when it comes for just one player. Now, the way to look at it, Jeff, is if you're giving up all that, ask yourself this: is this player an all-star year in, year out? If the answer is no, then you don't have to go to the next question. Is this guy a superstar? Is this guy a Hall of Famer? Stuff like that. So that's the reason why, because that first question cannot be answered and cannot be guaranteed, I would not give up that much to get DeJounte.
Yeah. I agree with you that he had his chance thing. I think he was given his chance, and I think he embraced his chance. He became an all-star. He was the key focal point pre-Wemby for this team. He was the face of the Spurs for a while. Yeah. So, I think he was given his chance. But I go back to what I said in the middle segment here. I said, I'm glad the Spurs are if the reports are just looking at point guards. Even it could have been DeJounte. It could have been Mike Conley, Fred VanVleet. Who cares? The fact that they're just looking at a point guard, I'm glad about that. And if it just happened to be DeJounte, so be it. But, that was a great comment there. But let's see what's up next. Shocker here, Rudy. It's about Wemby and the All-Star conversation. This is from K_DC. He left this comment. It says, on the All-Star conversation, I would relook at the stats. As high of a potential Wemby might be, his effective field goal percentage, his true shooting percentage is very bad, very below average comparing that to the regular centers. Never mind Chet, Holmgren, or Alperen Sengun. It's one thing for rookies to have these numbers. It's another for all-star consideration. If it was a blind test and cover up the names, other guys would be ahead. He's talking about Wemby. The popularity hype vote is already in effect. What do you think about that? Do you think that should hit Wemby's all-star chances?
Yeah. I mean, if you're talking about the best of the best when it comes to all-star consideration, and you and we did a show on this recently, and
we did. Yep.
We were kind of on the same page of he's not an all-star. The only way he gets in is by the fans. If he doesn't get in by the fans voting, the coaches aren't going to get him in. There's no way. I mean, you're not on a winning team. That's a big thing right there. You are putting up stats. Your stats are good, but compared,
they're good. They're great. He's on a tear right now.
Yeah, and compared to everybody in the West, you're still about middle of the pack. I mean, you're not right there, with everybody in the West that will be considered for all-star consideration. The other way that might happen too is if the league wants him in the All-Star game, they'll get him into the All-Star game because it's all finances. It's all financial stuff. But let's not negate everything. He's going to be a part of All-Star Weekend. So he's going to be there, but he's right. Stat-wise, he's got stats to say you can be an All-Star, but it's not stats that say you should be an All-Star.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, we're not even talking about, Chet Holmgren possibly getting an All-Star nod over Wemby. Imagine that happens. If it comes down to that, who are you going to pick to fill it out? And the coaches go with Chet over Wemby.
But they should. They should.
And if they do, I'm taking that and I'm putting it on Wemby's locker room and being like, read that every day to the rest of your career. Motivation right there. So, keep your eye on that. Will Wemby make the All-Star squad? Whether it's a starter or a reserve, we'll see. He's going to be there no matter what, whether it be for events or the Rise to Star Challenge. But will he be there for the big event on Sunday night remains to be seen. And the last comment we're going to read here is from Christopher Kidd. He says, say what you want about these Spurs. They are growing and connecting and competing more in these games. You buying or selling that?
In the past couple of games, I'm buying that they are doing that. And, it's part of growing pains. You're going to you're going to see a lot of positives, but where you
Mm-hmm.
see one positive, there's 2 or 3 negatives that's going to happen. So I would say that they are improving, not by leaps and bounds, by maybe inches and centimeters. They are improving, but it's enough to where you can notice it. I do agree to a certain extent with that comment that they are improving, that they are, gelling and coming together. But again, it's not going to equal the wins.
Yeah, they're definitely getting better. They're taking baby steps.
Mm-hmm.
We got at least competitive games versus the Bucks and the Cavs, so that was fun. They're not getting curb stomped in the third quarter.
Mm-hmm.
They're rallying from deficits. They're not just laying down and dying. And interesting fact, ahead of the Spurs-Pistons game, they actually were committing fewer turnovers than their opponents in 3 games straight. So if that's a sign of improvement, I'll take it. They're valuing the ball. They're minimizing turnovers. So that's good. So they are getting better. You look at them as a whole, it's just going to take time. And you alluded to it. You said, look at what OKC went through. Look what the Magic are going through or went through. I think they're out of the rebuild there, but I think they're at phase 1 post rebuild right now. And then, of course, you mentioned the Kings. So the Spurs still got work to do, but if these are little steps towards that direction, that's great. So we'll see how the Spurs improve. But, Rudy, I can't let you go because you're old enough to remember going to the Hemisphere Arena. So we had a discussion about the old days in yesterday's Locked On Spurs with our guest, Raul Flores of the AP Radio. And we're trying to remember if the Hemisphere Arena had baby monitors underneath the second level overhang. So let's just say you got a good ticket, you're in that first bowl, but because the overhang would dip pretty low.
Yeah.
Were there TV monitors you could watch the action if you couldn't see clearly?
Yes. And I remember because one of the games that I went to was against the Chicago Bulls when Michael Jordan came to town, and my mom got us tickets, and it was underneath the overhang. And it was great because I could see a little bit of the court, but also because they had monitors on the corner. So you did have a monitor where you could see the game on there, see what was going on. I can say for sure there were monitors. Now, if not, if there wasn't any monitors, and we've got a Mandela effect going on,
we do,
that I'm pretty sure is kind of crazy. But
I remember them not being really big or anything.
No, they weren't like TVs. I mean,
they weren't TV. They were just like these small monitors. Like a desktop monitor. That's the best I could describe it as. And they were back in the 70s and 80s. They weren't flat screens. They were like the puffy, round, boxy looking ones. But I do remember that. And interesting fact though, I don't know if you knew this, but Raul, he's much older than us.
Yeah.
And he said he went to that very first Spurs game in San Antonio as an NBA team. He actually said the Spurs were the first NBA team to have the Jumbotron that had a 4-sided scoreboard. I did not know that.
I did not know that either.
Yeah, I did not know that at all. So
that's some crazy
Spurs history there. Exactly.
If you're going Hemisphere Arena, man, you know what I loved about it that I'll never forget? Were the ramps going up to the next level.
They were orange, right? Or brown?
Oh, I think they were brown if I remember.
They were brown? Okay, yeah.
I remember those ramps. That was probably one of my favorite things about going to a game. It was just walking up
down.
Walking up the ramps and then running down the ramps as a kid. I mean, man, I wish they would have never knocked it down. That was an arena that definitely would have been something to preserve, like the Alamo and the Tower and stuff.
Yeah, I would have loved for this new generation of Spurs fans to experience that, because that was an experience. Hemisphere Arena back in the day was just loud. He is Rudy Campos of Sweep the League. Are you guys, I'm guessing that Sweep, it's all about the NFL right now with the season winding down?
Yeah, playoffs kicking off.
Yeah.
We got some articles coming out when it comes to NFL draft stuff. So just be on the lookout for those mock drafts and interact with us, because we'd love to see what you guys think about the prospects coming up. And then as soon as we're done with that, we're jumping right into NBA prospects. So we got a lot coming up.
Follow him on X at Sweep the League. Ask him how he is doing coming down to solving the world economic situation. Hopefully he's doing a good job. We're going to save the world on that front. So again, follow him on X at Sweep the League. Hey, thanks for making Locked On Spurs your first listen each and every day. Free and available wherever we get podcasts, iTunes, YouTube, Spotify, Ken's 5 Plus app. The list goes on and on. Also, check out Locked On Sports 24/7 streaming channel on YouTube. Subscribe to it right now. So the local hosts, national hosts, regional hosts are all together. 24/7 streaming channel on YouTube. Locked On Sports Today. Go subscribe to it right now. So for Rudy, Deathstroke, Campos, I am Jeff Garcia. We're going to put a lock on this episode of Locked On Spurs.